Who is the best player on Georgia's 2023 roster? That is the question that I have for you today. I'm going to come out and say it. We already know who the obvious answer is to this question. It's Brock Bowers. Pound for pound, arguably the best college football player last year. Was saying it all season long. There's not a player that comes to my mind who does their job better each and every play than Brock Bowers. I think he's easily one of the best players in college football going into 2023. Could be a Heisman finalist if things go his way, but dude is a future college football Hall of Famer, living legend, could be a three-time champion, first-round pick. The list goes on and on. So he is the correct answer to the question. But after Brock Bowers, I think it's a legitimate conversation of who the best player on the team is. So real quick, this is an off-season video, which means that this is just to get conversation going, right? There's nothing that I'm reporting here. This is just a question that I have for you. Who do you think is the second best player on Georgia's roster heading into the spring in just a few more weeks? So I'm going to take a gander at it. I'm going to help you out a little bit, throw some names out there. Let's start just on offense, right? Because that's fun. Carson Beck is not the best player on the team right now. I think in 12 months, if he leads Georgia to a 15-0 season, becomes a Heisman finalist, does everything that he has the potential and the talent to do, in my opinion. This time next year, we could be saying that, okay, this guy is rivaling Brock Bowers for the best player on the roster, and we'll have a better understanding of that in 12 months, right? But going into this season, he's not. Kendall Milton, really good running back, not the best player on the team. Dejan Edwards, really good, reliable, dependable running back, not the best player on the team. Branson Robinson could be in 2 years, but not going on into this year, into this spring. Wide receiver, it's not Ra Thomas. It's not Ra Thomas right now. It's I don't think it's Dominic Lovett, the transfer from Missouri. I don't think it's Ladd McConkey. He might be one of the more productive players on the entire roster. I expect him to have a monster year in 2023. Hard for me to say he's the best player on the team, though, but he's up there. You could look at the offensive line. Cedric Van Pran is probably the guy that comes second to me. Right now, I would have to say that he might be the second best player on the team. Multi-year starter, was the center for a tremendous, offense last year. Scored 50 points in the SEC title game, 42 against Ohio State, 65. Was it 65? Was it 85? Was it 95? How many points did they score against TCU again? I think they're still scoring. He was the leader of that group. That was not the quarterback, and could have left. Could have been, a top 3 round guy chosen in April's draft, but he decided to come back. One of the best offensive linemen in college football this upcoming season, doing it at center. He is so important to this team and this offense, and I think he's going to have a very, very long NFL career when the time comes. So he could be the best player. Marius Mims could work his way into that conversation as well. I think he has all the talent in the world. We saw him play a lot of right tackle towards the end of the year, and then the championship game. He is a massive dude. Could probably wrestle in WWE, whatever they're calling it now. He is that big. Still one of the biggest prospects I've ever seen when I started covering him. He was a sophomore at Bleckley County, and I just remember thinking, this guy is unreal. And I was just talking about Broderick Jones being this, creative player at left tackle when I covered him at Lithonia. And then the next year, I see Omarius Mims, who's even bigger, but he's very, very good. He's going to be entering his 3rd season this year. This is a big-time money year. If he wants to have this final year go to the NFL, I think he has the potential to do that. He's going to be one of the better players on the team next year. And then you could go to the defense. On the defensive line, you're losing Jalen Carter. I don't think, they have a lot of depth there. And again, it's hard to think of a guy, right? Because Georgia's so deep and so talented. It's not just 4 guys. And then a lot of, pretty good players. No, everyone's good. If you're starting for the Georgia Bulldogs, you're a really good player, and you can probably play at the next level. So that's what happens when you recruit 5-star after 5-star, turn them into NFL prospects, and then replace them with 5 stars, develop them, do the same thing. They got a machine going. And I think if you asked a lot of, not casual college football fans, but knowledgeable college football fans right now and said, hey, can you name 5 Georgia players, 6 Georgia players who are going to be impact guys in 2023? And if they didn't watch all the games, and they're not going to know, people are going to say, well, they've got a few running backs, and I think they have a pretty good receiver coming back. They got Brock Bowers. Everyone knows about Brock Bowers, but they've got some linebackers here and there. I don't know if a lot of people can name drop the people on Georgia's roster right now who I think are going to be starting. So it's that. A lot of people talked about the no-name defense a few years ago. 2023, outside of Georgia fans and people who, watch the SEC religiously, I think a lot of people are not going to know a whole lot of names on this team, even though they are full of talented players. Malachi Starks could be the best player on the team in a couple of years. Maybe not this year, but he's one of them. Same for Michael Williams. Just absolute freak edge defender who can play inside. He might be at like 275, 280 next year. I'm not sure, but he is, lightning quick off the ball, already shown to be one of the best pass rushers on the team. He's going to have a monster year next year. Bear Alexander is going to be a name everyone knows, I think, this time next year. Small Munden could be, preparing for the NFL draft in 12 months. Same could Jamon Dumas-Johnson. So there are a lot of really, really good players, but they play as a team. They play collectively, and a lot of these really good players get lost in the shuffle as far as, the average Iowa fan or Texas fan or Utah fan or North Carolina fan, whoever, those, random teams. I'm not sure how many players they could name. So again, and we could talk about, more. Is Smile Munden the best player maybe on the defense? Could be next year. Kamari Laster, I think, is going to raise his hand. Javon Bullard, the most productive defender they had, especially towards the end of the year in those last two games, defensive player of the game in the Peach Bowl in the national championship. Maybe he's the best player on the defense. And when I say best player, I'm combining talent with production. You got to have both of those if you're going to be the best, right? So I'm trying to think. Who is it? There are a lot of guys who could win that job as second best player on the team, but going into this spring, I don't know who it is. Probably Cedric Van Pran. Could be Amarius Mims. Could be Malachi Starks, for all I know. Jamon Dumas-Johnson is going to be a multi-year starter. Smile Munden, obviously the same. Marvin Jones Jr., I think, is going to have a breakout year, a guy that people need to know. But that defensive line is full of just veterans, guys who aren't going to light up the stat sheet. But Zion Logue, Tramel Walthour, Nazir Stackhouse. Maybe Nazir Stackhouse is that breakout defender on the defense, although he's been there for a while now. Georgia fans know all about him. He's been on the roster for years. But maybe he's the guy who gets his name out there nationally. He's got a great name. Nazir Stackhouse, he's been on my all-name team since we covered him out of Stevenson High School and then went to Columbia, I think. He was at a couple high schools, but great kid. Always thought he would do really well, and he's turning into one of their better players that they have. So Jalen Walker at linebacker, he's going to be the next guy who comes through the system, pushes for a Butkus Award, and then is a first-round pick. Number 11, he made a lot of plays towards the end of the year and really flashed against TCU like Bear Alexander did. They're playing so many guys, so many young guys, and it just goes back to recruiting and the depth that they're building. And because they're so talented and so deep, there's not one or two guys that stand out because they all stand out on particular plays. They all have their own moments. And so a lot of the times it can be forgotten. But, going into last year, everyone knew who Jalen Carter was and Keely Ringo and Stetson Bennett. So there were bigger names on the roster from a national perspective than I think there are going into this year. So, the last few years, everyone knew who the running backs were. And, there were just bigger names. Jordan Davis was a monster name. Yeah, N'Kobe Dean, Lewis Seen. Those guys were, people knew who they were going into those final seasons. So I think there are a lot of players bound for big breakout seasons, especially, Brock Bowers, who I'm going to say it. He's the best player in college football going into next season. Caleb Williams is really good, but is Caleb Williams a better quarterback than Brock Bowers is a tight end? I'm not sure I'd say that. I wouldn't say that. Boom. I would not say that. I think Brock Bowers is the best player in college football going into this season. He's the best player on the team. I don't really know who's second. That's for, you drop who you think it is in the comment section below. Am I totally missing someone? Did I totally miss someone? I don't think so. I think I try to hit all the position groups, but if I'm wrong, let me know. Usually not, but please let me know if you think I am. Dog instruction back here. Pick up double dogs down below. We're working hard on that bad boy. You're going to love it. Get your copy in today. A lot going on Dog Post. We got signing day next week. Georgia trying to close strong in 2023, and I think they are going to have the #1 class in 2024 if all goes according to plan. And right now it is. I think they're going to have a monster class. Some good news coming, I think, in that 24 class as well. So I'm trying to, get the stories ready for y'all, get the videos ready. I expect a lot of, good things to come Georgia's way on the recruiting trail over the next several weeks. And I hope y'all are here for the ride. Make sure to check us out on Dog Post. Thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I will see you over on Dog Post.